let's give it another 30 seconds. Okay, let's get started. Today is February 14th. This is the Kubernetes migration working group bi-weekly sync meeting. So let's get started from the agenda. The first item was being done. Amy, you want to verbalize?
Yes, so the rate limiting Redis custom migration is progressing. We have just recently completed the Redis upgrade for this instance, which was required. And we now have a planned migration path that we believe should work, which we have ready for testing.
Cool. Any questions about this? Is this rate limiting related to our rate limiting engineer allocation?
No, I don't believe that they are. I'm not aware that we have dependencies, no.
Okay, thank you. Okay, what's happening next?
Oh, wait, hold on. I do have a question. Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to type at the same time. Oh, yeah. So you said, Amy, that it's ready for testing. Who is doing that testing? Is that something that should be coordinated with John?
So he's certainly welcome to be involved if he wants to. So we'll do it as our next step. So I think it is, I believe we have the kind of knowledge of how the rate limiting Redis cluster should be working. It'll be, the intention is to run them sort of side by side with VMs and then start running it on the Kubernetes cluster and the pre-environment. If you would like to have someone from quality kind of give that a once over or check on the plan, then absolutely happy to loop someone in, like John or someone in.
Yeah, that would be great. I think tag in John, and if he feels like this is out of his depth, then Vinci, maybe we can find somebody on your team who could also take a review. Okay, great.
I mean, hopefully it should just be a case of us being able to basically say like the rate limiting Redis is running the same, but I definitely appreciate your expertise to come in on this one. So yeah, I'll tag John. Great.
Cool. More questions? Okay. Okay. What's happening next? Still, Amy,
Yeah. So just following on that, the next steps we'll be planning. We'll be testing out this planned migration path. So I'll tag John there. We're also doing a piece to evaluate the Redis observability to see. We probably won't have like for like, but we'll see what things will change or what we need to bring in to make sure we actually maintain observability as we migrate.
Cool. Any questions? Okay, let's move on to the blockers. We have two. Amy, first one.
Yeah, so just for this one, I have follow-up questions for you. So I know we reviewed these last year. Like these are not a blocker for the migration, but it would be great if we could actually get these prioritized so that we can actually pay down some other tech debt. And also it improves our deployment reliability to shift things that are environment variables into actual proper GitLab settings. And I think to answer your question, Sean, like I'm not sure on the Sev4. So I suppose it's a question of like, does a Sev4 mean it will never get prioritized, or is it something which we could actually, say get teams to sort of be able to schedule it like in a couple of months, or like if it means it never gets prioritized, then yes, we should probably move these up. But as I don't want to like unnecessarily kind of escalate them if they will come in.
Yeah, actually, Sev4, if you check our guidance of severity, as Sev4 almost means that it will be the last thing to be visited. So leaving it at Sev4, there is a higher possibility it's never going to be prioritized due to what we have right now, the engineering team. So if we really need this item to be implemented, I recommend to reevaluate according to the guidance of severity. The quality handbook has a clear guidance then see what severity level makes sense to get
Okay.
this higher.
Okay, I'll
in the-
reprioritize these so that we get them, because yeah, it'd be good to have these. It would be good to have these shifted.
Yeah, and also there was a question from, I think it was from Michelle, to clarify, because last June when we looked at these things, we assessed that it's not a blocker at that time for the Kubernetes migration.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're 6 months later, so more than
That's
6
it.
months later.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So now we've run through all the previous steps. So yeah, it'd be good to get these prioritized.
Yeah, so I think it will be nice to say that it's becoming either a blocker or a much higher priority for our scalability and availability. Because yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I'll review those and add a comment on there. Great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would also suggest adding technical debt, because at this point it is technical debt because we need it actually fixed in the product, but we've created a workaround so that the K8s deployment can continue to move forward.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you. And any other questions about this? Okay, move on to the next one from John. I will verbalize. So just confirming that if we want to proceed with one of the approaches mentioned in that comment for GitLab on Kubernetes and potentially asking for some help in implementation. So my first comment was, I read that comment sounded like the recommendation is external DNS. So first, we probably need to create an issue and then identify who is the best to implement that. I don't know the answer. Anyone here knows that which team would be the best to implement the external DNS?
Could I question, like, one thing I was a little unclear on is, I know Skybet kind of questioned whether we should be using the kind of the I guess the need to get the prefect chart out of alpha before we sort of progress. What I'm a little concerned about here is, are we making technical decisions without a product decision? Like I'm not clear on, like, I know Chun, you had a comment earlier in that thread about, is exposing the IP a GitLab feature, for example. Like I think we have lots of technical ways we could solve this, but I'm a little unclear, I guess, on from a product perspective, like, do customers want to be able to run GitLab without prefect, or would they want both, or in a different order, or like what problem should we be prioritizing?
Actually, that's a good comment. I think now we have either way. I mean, we identify two passes. Both passes are kind of blocked, right? There are definitely issues to resolve to move either way. So I think maybe we need to summarize the current situation and then revisit with a PM to see what makes best sense the next step for this migration, right? So what you said makes sense to me. We need a PM to determine which path is the best for us right now for GitLab.com, and then what needs to be done.
Because I think if we're at the stage where we like, it sounds like for either approach, like having some engineers working on sort of updating the chart or solving the external DNS, like we can prioritize that work, but it sort of almost feels at that point that we are entering into the migration plan and we should just sort of push forwards from there. So yeah, it'd be good to know, like, it'd be good to make sure we're solving the right problem.
Okay, so what we know right now is prefect in Kubernetes, we have the charts not ready yet. And then GitLab in Kubernetes, we have this issue here. So either path, we have problems and we are blocked. So then we need to get the PM to make a call, which is the best strategy for Kubernetes migration on GitLab.com. Probably that's our first goal. Self-managed, maybe a later consideration.
What I would like to add here is the prefect chart effectively needs a complete rewrite. The time it was originally designed, it was a POC, minimum viable. It's basically not moved forward with that while we waited for Prefect to mature. We need to reevaluate how it was built and how it is designed right now, as clear by the limitations it currently has based on the current state of Prefect. So we can begin that work that will push out many things.
Yeah, not asking to start it right away. So I think
No.
the right thing is to do right now is have PM review and discuss the pros and cons of either approach, then make a decision. So this may take a little time to settle down the path, because now we know the facts of both, either, both passes we already know.
Right. If I can add a little context here, we have really one Prefect cluster that has a few projects that are ours, correct? Do we
Yeah.
have more than one Prefect for GitLab.com?
I don't know.
So this is, I know that we have a bunch of Gitly. We don't have like just 4 and they're all behind one Prefect. The impact is, how do we configure Prefect on the outside to speak to Gitly on the inside? This is where, whether we use known IP addresses, routable IP addresses, or external ENS or whatever to make that work. Okay. We have many instances of Gitly already running as VMs, as isolated instances, possibly behind proxy of some kind of balanced traffic or resiliency somewhere. I don't know. Those instances aren't held back by that restriction. So there may be more that we want to look at besides just Prefect in the chart versus Prefect dealing with cluster access. I feel like we're not keeping the entire scope of the impact of testing and moving Gitly itself into the cluster until we keep that in operation.
So I think next step, probably between Dylan and Mark, to have a product sync to see what's the best path forward. Sorry, Dylan, you're just joining, but we already discussed. We have 2 paths laid out, Prefect in Kubernetes or Gitly in Kubernetes, but either way, we found blockers. So right now, neither will likely go forward without additional work. So I think we need to summarize the current situation, and then the PM and probably Amy, you want to be in that talk to decide what's the best approach for migration on the GitLab.com, then figure out what are the required work next.
Yep, that sounds good. I had meant to set a meeting with Mark last week, but we weren't able to connect. So I'll try this week, and yeah, we'll chat.
Yeah. Thank you, Dylan. And yeah, any other questions or suggestions? Okay, thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.